Seek out that deer that the great sages talk about. That deer, he's in a garden full of flowers. He's eating the grass. Little does he know, in front of him, there's a tiger. Behind him is a hunter, right? So then the king says, I still don't understand this. Could you please explain a little more? He says, the tiger is time. Time is sneaking up on you. Time, you don't know that you're getting old. You don't really realize it. And then eventually time comes and bounces on you. And then that's it. And then the hunter is a superintendent of death. Yamaraj he has assistants when it's time for us to die. If we were sinful beings, then Yamaraj will send his assistants to take care of us. And then the flowers, well, the bumblebees in the garden, these are like the talks of the children. They're very sweet. But if one gets too caught up by the buzzing of the bumblebees, they don't realize that the tiger's in front of them. And then finally, he says, therefore, you should engage in devotional service because death may come at any time. And then in that verse, Prabhupada says in the purport, he gives reference to another verse in the 11th canto of the Bhagavatam, which is 11.9.29. It goes like, Ladva sudulabamidam bahusambhavante manusyamarta damanityamapi hadira trinamnyate tanapatera nimityu yavan nisheya saya visaya kalusara tasyat. It explains that this body that we have is very rare to achieve. Only after many births and deaths of going through so many different life forms. There's 8,400,000 species of life. After so many births and deaths of going through so many different life forms, we finally get a human birth. It says that, hold on, I'll just put it up exactly. I used to know the verse, but kind of forgot it. After many, many births and deaths, one achieves a rare human form of life, which although temporary, Shri Shri Radha Gokulananda Ki Jai, which although temporary affords one the opportunity to attain the highest perfection. Thus a sober human being should quickly endeavor for the ultimate perfection in life, as long as his body, which is always subject to death, has not yet fallen down and died. After all, sense gratification is available even in the most abominable species of life, whereas Krishna consciousness is possible only for a human being. So after Narada Muni told all these analogies to the king, then he said, the king still didn't understand, so then he said, look, you're going to die. Sense enjoyment, sense gratification is available in all different species of life, but actually development of Krishna consciousness is only an option for the human being. Therefore, whatever you're doing, this should be the main thing that you're doing. You should be trying to develop your Krishna consciousness. And then another example of how Narada Muni is a great teacher, we have King Chitraketu. King Chitraketu, he had millions of wives, but by chance, none of the wives could actually have kids. So he said, I have a beautiful palace, and I have beautiful wives, and I have all this opulence and money, but he gives one example. He says it's like having a chariot without wheels. You may sit on the chariot, but if it doesn't have wheels, it won't go anywhere. He says, because I don't have a son, when I die, then my son won't be able to offer me pinda, and I won't be able to stay in the planet of the forefathers for a long time, and my whole family will be sent to abominable places. So he's very much grieving that he doesn't have a son. So then, actually Angita Muni, Narada Muni's friend, who sometimes travels with him, he comes first, and he meets the king, and he blesses the king. He says, look, it's not in your karma to have a son, actually. This is why all your wives can't have kids, because it's not in your karma. But if you really, really desire, I could bless you so you could have a kid. but this kid will be the source of your great happiness and the source of your great, displeasure or misery. And then, before the king even responded, the Muni left. So then, soon after, the eldest wife was pregnant, and then she had the son. But what happened, and when she had the son, there was a big celebration. Many people came from different areas. They came big. He started giving cows to brahmanas, and he started giving grains, giving a bunch of stuff, so that his son would be very fortunate and be blessed. But so then the son grew up to about 4 years old, and what happened, because only one wife had a child, the king started to show favor to this one wife, and he kind of started to somewhat ignore the other wives. So they started to become envious. And what happened was, then the other wives came together, and they decided, okay, we're gonna kill the son. We're gonna poison him. So then they poisoned the son, and then one day, the queen she says, my son has been sleeping for a long time. And then she tells the maidservant, please wake him up. He's been sleeping for a long time. The maidservant goes into the room where he's sleeping, and she sees that his eyes are rolled back, that he's unconscious. There's no signs of life. So then she starts to cry. Then the queen she comes into the room, and she sees, so she starts to cry. Then the king comes, and everyone's lamenting, everyone's crying. Whoever is in the palace, in the castle, everybody's like depressed and crying. So then somehow, this time Angita Muni comes back, but he comes back with Narada Muni. And they come back, they see that he's in a distressed position. So he said, and then the queen is saying, please just wake up, your friends are calling you. It's not right that a son dies before the father. Please wake up, your friends are calling you like that. So then Narada Muni, they somehow make the soul come back into the body of the boy. And the son says, he comes back and he wakes up and he looks, and they're like, my son, finally you're back. Your friends are calling you. And he's like, my son? He's like, I've had so many fathers and mothers. He's like, only in this birth, you guys are saying I'm your son, but in my previous birth, I was somebody else's son or someone else's daughter, and I had a different set of parents. So he said, you guys shouldn't be so, he said, I was only destined to live in this body for 4 years, so my time is over, my time is up. You guys shouldn't be so attached to having me as your son, because the soul is always going through different bodies. And this identifying, this is my son, this is my enemy, this is my friend, this is my spouse, this is all based on the bodily conception of life. So the child, he comes back, but he's like self-realized this time, and he's preaching to his parents. Then the king is like, he starts to kind of wake up a little bit, realize, and then the wives that administered poison, they were feeling pretty bad. And everyone started to become a little more conscious about the actions and about what should they do moving forward. So then Narada Muni tells the king, look, you're not the body. Basic philosophy, you're not the body. One point this is your son. The next life you may have a different soul as your son. It's always changing. He starts to preach them about the eternal aspect of life. You're actually a spirit soul. Then he says, if you want, I could give you this mantra. And this mantra, whoever chants this mantra within a week's time, they will see Sankirtan. So then he accepted the mantra, he accepted initiation from Narada Muni. And then he started chanting the mantra. And within a week, he had darshan of Lord Sankirtan, Krishna, Narayan. And then, of course, after having darshan and everything, he dropped all his material desires. He became a pure devotee of the Lord, and he's actually a great devotee. And in his next life, he takes birth as a demon. But externally, he's a demon. He has a demon's body. But internally, he's a devotee. But that's a long pastime, so we won't get into that now. Yeah, Vritasura. Yeah. So yeah, this is how a teacher acts. He doesn't just give the knowledge and then say, he doesn't just give the knowledge and not worry if we actually understood it or not. he inquires, have you understood this fully? Do I have to explain it again? We will see within Srila Prabhupada's Leela, he also did that with his disciples. He didn't just say, here's the knowledge of the Bhagavad Gita and let me, send me some money every month and just read the Gita and let me go to he didn't do anything like that. What he did, he stayed with his disciples. He showed them. Acharya means to teach by example. So he showed them by example how to apply the philosophy, how to live it, how to realize it. And then he would do many morning walks with them. He would ask them, have you understood this? Sometimes he'll say, you pretend to be a scientist, and or I'll be the scientist and you're the devotee, and they would have these debates so that his disciples could fully understand the knowledge that's given. So that's the first part of the class. The second part, I would like to talk about attention, because in the verse, Krishna says, have you understood this attentively? Have you listened to this with an attentive mind? So we see within our contemporary times that attention is lacking. We see that attention deficit, illnesses are on the rise. They say within the last 9 years, 120%, there's been a rise with, problems with attention because people have the phone and so many different things. People cannot focus for a long time. They say that the goldfish could focus for 9 seconds. The human being, on average, could focus for only 8.25 seconds. So the attention is actually lacking in our contemporary times. But how do we become more attentive within our life? We have to first set an intention. Arjuna, at the beginning of Bhagavad Gita, he understands his position. He understands that he's confused. So he says in 2.7, now I'm confused about my duty. I have lost all composure due to miserly weakness. Please tell me for certain what is best for me. Now I'm your disciple and the soul surrendered unto you. So he says, he understands that he's not in the right position. He sets his intention. Okay, I don't know what's happening. I need to inquire. I need to listen to Krishna. He knows what's happening. So then when he sets that right intention, then he can listen attentively. So the whole Bhagavad Gita, because he understood what is the purpose, he says, please tell me what is best for me. So he wants to know what is best for him, right? And he's confused about that. What are the 5 reasons? He was confused about, is this fighting really best for me? So what are the 5 reasons why Arjuna didn't want to fight? If anyone could answer.
Compassion.
Mm-hmm.
Enjoyment.
Mm-hmm.
He was concerned about painful reactions for himself.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Yes, that's actually the same order I had it in. So he was very confused. He didn't know what to do. So he set his intention. Okay, I don't know what's best for me. Let me listen to Lord Krishna. Then Krishna explained the whole Gita. That Smanyata, the head, you're not the body. You're a Satra. Why are you acting like, you're supposed to be a fighter. Why are you acting like someone who's scared? Do your duty. Then later on he says, not only are you not the body, but actually you're my eternal fragmental part. Mamaivam so jiva loke, jiva bhuta sanatana, mana sastran indriyani what is it? Prakriti stani karsati, I believe. So he says, all living entities, what is that one? All living entities in this material world are struggling very hard with I think it's 6 senses, which include the mind. Hold on, let me just pull it up real quick. 15:7. The living entities in this conditional world are my eternal fragmental parts. Due to conditioned life, they are struggling very hard with the 6 senses, which include the mind. So he says, not only are you not the body, but actually you my eternal fragmental part. You are my part and parcel. Then he goes to say, Bahunam Janmanan Ante. After many births and deaths, one who's actually in knowledge surrenders unto me, know me to be the cause of all causes. He says, look, you're not the doer. You're not the one who's killing these people. These people are already dead. If you listen to me and if you kill them, This will be beneficial for you because you're pleasing me. So he says, don't worry, there will be no sin for you because you're actually not the doer. And then Krishna finally says, abandon all varieties of religion, just surrender unto me. And you'll be free from all sinful reaction. So slowly, he takes Arjuna, you're not the body, you're my eternal fragmental part. Then he says, just surrender unto me. Because ultimately, you're only my part and parcel, I'm the supreme whole. And if you do what's pleasurable for me, then you will not have any sin connected with your action. So then Arjuna understood, okay, in intention, attention, and then action. So he understood, okay, after having the proper intention and then listening with an attentive mind, he understood, okay, my action, there will be no negative effect to my actions. So Krishna, because he's very compassionate and he wants, if we actually look beyond this, Arjuna actually is already a devotee. Krishna is also putting this in the Bhagavad Gita. He wants us to fully understand the Gita when we come to an end. He's also asking us, have you fully understood this? Or were you just trying to, read a chapter a day and get through the Gita in a month? Have you actually understood the science that's in the Gita? If not, I'm ready to re-explain it. If not, please read it again. You could take it like that as well. So we must be attentive. And we could also take the example of when we're chanting. If we state our intention at the beginning before we sit down to chant, we say, okay, I want to chant for 2 hours without falling asleep. And as soon as I start to feel tired, I'm going to stand up and start walking. Then automatically we're going to be attentive. Okay, when am I feeling tired? When should I start to walk? And then our action, our chanting of japa will be a success if we practice like this. At least we won't fall asleep. Or we could take the example of fasting days. We decide, okay, this Ekadasi, I'm not going to eat anything or drink anything. I'm going to do a complete Ekadasi fast. So then we could be attentive. Okay, maybe I shouldn't go to the prasad hall because I'm going to see all varieties of prasad, and I'm just going to start to think about how I could be eating that. So let me just stay away from there. And then throughout the day, we get through the fast. So then we do the proper action. We complete the fast. The other thing about attention is the psychologists explain that there's something called a state of flow, where we're doing something and we lose track of time because we love what we're doing. So when it comes to devotional service, we should find that service that brings us to the state of flow. Maybe it's kirtan. We jump into kirtan, and we love it so much we lose track of time. We chant over 7:30, maybe 7:45, and the class speaker is waiting because we get so into it. We're told our attention is fully there. We're not thinking about anything else. It may be reading. It may be distributing some form of mercy, prasad, book distribution. It may be many things are there. So we have to find where can we access that state of flow within Krishna consciousness. And then it says, Prabhupada says in the purport, that if we hear this message attentively, the Bhagavad Gita, then of course our ignorance and illusions will be dispelled, and then our actions will become more purified and more perfect like that. So the point is to hear attentively. What does that mean? When we sit down to read the Bhagavad Gita, we come to the class, we say, okay, I'm not going to check my social media. I'm just going to take my notebook and I'm going to take notes. And whatever point really sticks out to me, I'm going to write it down. And then if we do this, we do it, or when we sit down to read, we say, okay, I'm going to sit down for half an hour. If I start to feel tired, I'm going to start walking. We set the intention, then we're attentive, then the action is perfect. Then we actually execute what we intended to do. So this is some thoughts I had on the verse. You know, it was talking about, we talked about the qualities of a teacher. The teacher doesn't only give knowledge, he checks with the student to see if the student has understood what is being presented. Then we talked about attention. One more thing, quick thing I want to talk about. In the translation, Krishna calls Arjuna Dhananjaya. Dhananjaya means the conqueror of wealth. But what does that mean? Does that mean that Arjuna wasn't attached to wealth, or he had a lot of it, or he gave a lot of it away? What does it mean? It actually means where there was one pastime where Maharaj Yudhishthir, he had to perform a sacrifice. But in the treasury, they didn't have any more money. They didn't have any more gold, anything valuable much. So then he told Arjuna, bring some money. And Arjuna was a little perplexed. He didn't know where to get the money from. So then Krishna saw his anxiety, and then Krishna said, what's happening? Arjuna explained. Then Krishna said, no problem. Actually, in previous yugas, people were so rich, when they would eat, they wouldn't eat from metal. They wouldn't eat from clay. They would eat on gold. And when they were done eating, they wouldn't wash the plate and eat off of the same plate again. The plate was considered dirty, so they used to just throw it away. Or if someone gave a lot of gold to brahmanas, brahmanas are not looking for gold. You know, they have like a little water pot, and they stay in a little hut. They have maybe one cow. They're not looking for opulence. So what would they do? They will give it away. So Krishna explained that actually in the Himalayas, in one part of the Himalayas, there's a mountain of golden plates and golden paraphernalia. So then Arjuna goes there and he brings it, and then they have wealth in order to perform the sacrifice. So then that's why he's called Dhananjaya, because at a time where it seemed like impossible to get wealth, they didn't have any. Krishna helped him, and Arjuna was able to capture the wealth and bring it to Maharaj Yudhishthira. So that's why he's called Dhananjaya. These are what I come up with, my thoughts, what I've observed from reading this verse. If there's any comments, questions, corrections, please feel free to ask. Thank you.
Yeah, I've noticed it's customary in this place to say like thank you for the class, but I'd also heard from a senior devotee that you shouldn't say that because you don't want to make the speaker into a circus monkey who just performed for you. So I don't know what to do with it. Sadhu, it's just sadhu. Okay. Yeah, yeah, but I was a little bit confused on the point you made in the beginning. That you said something about that we can tell from the behavior if someone is a spiritual master. I heard that's what we cannot do. Like for example, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, he would forbid his disciples to go and see his spiritual master, Kishore Das Babaji, because they would make offenses in their mind because they would not understand his behavior. They would think he was crazy or like that. So that's why I'm wondering how can we see in someone's behavior if they are like true spiritual master?
So, of course, there's like the avadut who don't behave according to custom, even though they're focused on Krishna 24/7 a day. They may do something that seemingly seems crazy, so it may make some offense. So it's better actually not to associate with them because we may be on a neophyte level. But someone who's usually the spiritual master, especially preaching nowadays, they will set a good example because they will set an example where people could follow because they understand that people are gradually coming up. So we could see nowadays, we will see that the guru, even though he's above Varna and Ashram, he will still act according to certain rules and regulations to set an example. So in that way we could see, but what I was mainly referring to is we could see, is that person humble? Does he have these, anyone who's practicing any form of spirituality or elevation of consciousness, they should develop qualities in the mode of goodness. So that's what we could see that. This I was referring mainly to just someone who's a little more in the mode of goodness, not exactly the topmost pure devotee, because sometimes they may not act according to custom. But when someone is someone elevated in the mode of goodness, usually we could see that. We could see, okay, is this person clean? Is this person tolerant? Is he humble? Does he not care for fame? Is he always saying, hey guys, look at me, look what I did? We could see, even the acharyas. Acharya means one who teaches by example. So the acharya, they teach by example in most cases. So we could see by their example that, okay, this person is obviously a saintly person. So that's what I meant by that. I hope that's clear.
That they live what they preach too, right?
Yeah.
That there's no glitch there in the.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna,
I don't
Prabhu.
know if we have time, but
We have lots of time.
well, I'll go quick. But yeah, I appreciate your point about setting an intention before we can actually have that attention. And I was thinking, for me at least, like the desires are so fleeting, always coming and going. One day we want to do this, next day we want to do this. Like people set New Year's resolutions but hardly stick to them. And then I was reminded of the past time where someone came to Prabhupada and said, I'm practicing Krishna consciousness, but sometimes I fall into Maya. And then Prabhupada says, no, you're always in Maya, and sometimes you fall into Krishna consciousness. So, like, yeah, how to set proper intentions when our desires are so turbulent and so fluctuate so much.
Yeah, we may, being in the most mature nature, we may set a plan. We may set an intention, okay, by next year I want to be a millionaire, and I want to have this many associates, and I want this many people to glorify me. We may set that intention, but that's not the right intention setting. We have to see by consulting Guru, Sadhu, and Sastra. From that, we could see, okay, is my attention lining up, And we could ask the Guru, we could ask the devotees. The devotees also know our situation. We could explain, hey, I'm not really like a pure devotee yet. Maybe I need to perform devotional service. Maybe I have to perform at a little. They will give you advice according to where you're at. They're not going to tell you, okay, they may not tell you, okay, now you have to chant 64 rounds every day, fast every Ekadashi completely. They understand where we're at, so they'll give us practical advice. So yeah, when setting intentions, we have to consult the Guru, the devotees, the sadhus, and we have to see what we're seeing, reading the sastra, what we're reading in the books. Is our intention lining up with that? If it's not, then we should approach a devotee or the Guru. I hope that something.
Perfect. Thank you, Prabhu.
Any other comments, questions, corrections, inspirations?
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
I really liked the class. I resonated with the point about the goldfish and the attention span, and I was reminded about what the capability of the attention span of the previous ages was. That the Bhagavad Gita was just spoken, and Arjuna is just like, if Arjuna would have, and that was brought me back to your last point, is Krishna's asking, do you understand? Arjuna could have nodded and like, yeah, I got it, and then he could have just done what he wanted. But then Arjuna actually remembered everything, and he was saying, yeah, I fully understood it. And even if he didn't understand something, he asked question for clarification. Like we're in Bhakti Shastri, we're studying in chapter 3, in chapter 4, he's getting the same question. So I
Thank you. Thank you all for coming. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavad Gita ki.
Chaitanya Kripa Prabhu ki, Shri Shri Radha Gokulananda ki, Shri Sitaram Lakshman Hanuman ki, Shri Shri Gauritai ki, Srila Prabhupada ki, Jai Gaur Premanande.
চাঁদের আরতি শোভা छत्रधारा बसे आছেন গোরাচাঁদ রত্ন সিংহাসনে आरती करे ना ब्रह्म आदिदेव गाने अनर हरि आदि करे झमर धुला घोषयति गाया शंख बजे कंठ बजे बजे करताला बजे परम रसाला शंखा भजे गंठा बाजे मधुर 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 बाजे मधुर 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 बाजे माधुर 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 बाजे शंख बाजे घंट बाजे मधुर माधुर मधुर बाजे चंद्र जिने बदना उज्ज्वला अगला देशे वनामला कोरे जलमाला sampada Thakur. Kiva Jaya Jaya Gora Chander Arati Ka Shobha Navita Samane Jagamana Lobha Agorangera Ratika Shobha Jagadana Mana Lobha Gorangera Ratika Shobha Jagadana Mana Lobha Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Nitina Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvisheshakshunyavadi Pashatyadeshatarine Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Jaya Sri Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Ram Rama Hare Hare. Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram
Krishna 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 Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Ram Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare Jaya Radha Gokulananda Radha Gokulananda Radhe Jaya Sitaram Lakshman Hanuman Sitaram Lakshman Hanuman Jaya Gauranitai 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 Jaya Gauranitai Jaya Jaya Prabhupada 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada Annetai Gaura Hari Bol Hari Bol Hari Bol Nitai Gaura Hari Bol Nitai Gaura Hari Bol Hari Bol Hari Bol Nitai Gaura Hari Bol Nitai Gaura Premanande So we're going to offer our obeisances. So everybody can bow down, and then at the end of every prayer we say Jai. After every key we say Jai. जय ओम विष्णुपाद परमहंस परिव्राजकाचार्य अस्तोत्र सदर श्री श्रीमान अभय चरणारविंद भक्तिवेदांत स्वामी शिल प्रभुपाद की जय ओम विष्णुपाद परमहंस परिव्राजकाचार्य अस्तोत्र सदर श्री श्रीमान भक्ति सिद्धांत सरस्वती ठाकुर महाराज प्रभुपाद की अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की नाम आचार्य श्री हरिदास ठाकुर की प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासरी गौर भक्त वृंद की श्री श्री राधा कृष्ण गोप गोपीनाथ श्याम कुंड राधा कुंड गिरि गोवर्धन की श्री वृंदावन धाम की श्री नवद्वीप मायापुर धाम की श्री पुरुषोत्तम क्षेत्र जगन्नाथपुरी धाम की गंगा यमुना माही भक्ति देवी की तुलसी महारानी की समवेत गौर भक्त वृंद की निताई गौर प्रेमानंदे। All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the lotus feet of Guru Gauranga. All glories to Srila Prabhupada ki. So Hare Krishna, we can all stick around. Bhakti Chaitanya Prabhu will be offering the Nrsimha prayers tonight. So we can all sit down and we can chant these prayers for auspicious.
Namaste Narasimhaya
Hare Krishna. So next darshan will be at 9 p.m. But until then, and while this happening, we'll have some bhajans here, so everyone could stick around, or you could go to the Haveli for prasada. Thank you very much for joining us. Hare Krishna. You do kirtan?